podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
The Roll for Initiative podcast. This is volume number 2, special insert number 5. This week we're going to be talking about designing an adventure from the ground up. I am one of your hosts, DM Vince, sitting alongside DM Matt.
Hello, everyone.
And DM Nick.
Hi, folks. Hi, everyone.
And DM Will is off this week in Adventure Gaming Land, so he's at a convention right now. So,
yeah, that's up in Vancouver, right?
I believe so. Game Storm or something?
Yeah, Vancouver, Washington this weekend. Then he has another one next weekend as well. So I think it's a comic book convention. Yeah, so 2 weeks in a row. He's going to conventions, living the life.
Lucky him.
Yeah.
Lucky.
So, the rest of us have been, busy doing what we're doing. So let's jump right into things real quick. Nick, you said we had a couple reviews this week.
Yes, actually, we had 3 reviews on iTunes. So let everybody know we're up to about 115 reviews on iTunes. So if you ever want to give us a review, head on over there and type in Roll for Initiative on the search, and away you go. So first review we have from DM Dwayne.
Hey, Dwayne.
And he says, just freaking awesome with 5 stars. So he goes, okay, first off, whenever you play, whether you play old school first edition or other editions, this is the podcast for you. The way the guys discuss info can be applied to any edition. The knowledge here is unmatched, and they have helped me become a better DM and a better player. I've listened to each episode at least twice, and they have gotten nothing but better as the weeks go by. It is because of this podcast that I have started playing 1E, began Basic and 2E again, and even Pathfinder. Thanks, Will. Their viewpoints are informed and welcomed, and if you want to hear a great group of guys talking about a great game, listen to DMs Will, Vince, Nick, and Matt, the RFI podcast with like 15 exclamation points at the end. So thank you, DM Dwayne. That's awesome. We do what we can.
Yeah.
If we help you be a better DM and a player, that's great. But this is also your show too. If you ever want to, have any suggestions or give advice as well, always email us or call up on our hotline. So we're just a bunch of guys who enjoy playing the game. So
word,
give our 2 Electrum pieces.
Yeah,
they're better than copper. So
Nick's getting copper. We're getting Electrum.
I got Electrum. I like Electrum.
We just for Electrum to fool you. So,
anywho, our next review is from Pedalise or something like that. I'm sorry if I massacred that. I apologize.
Hey.
And they say old school is the real D&D next with 5 stars. Ooh. I have been listening to RFI for a few years and enjoy it. I am much more of a flavor guy than a crunch guy, but I enjoy even the discussions about rules and such. DM Vince definitely is a bit of a curmudgeon, but I can relate because so am I.
Thanks.
Yeah. I really enjoy his snark he brings to the show. I feel the snark of Vince is counterbalanced with everyone's favorite retired Marine, DM Will. DM Will brings a wealth of game experience to the table along with a great sense of fun. I was a big AD&D player back in the days before there were any edition designations. I've also only played AD&D, mostly first edition, but a few games a second, and BEMCI, which is for basic and expert and so on. So that's where my heart will always lie. Thanks for the excellent show, guys. So Pat Delise.
Cool.
Thank you, Pat, very much. So what?
Snarky.
No love for DM Nick and DM Matt? What gives?
Oh, and I'm snarky.
And you're snarky.
Snark.
Snarf.
Oh, snarf.
Why
And our last review is from Gulo 1970. And he or she says, old school AD&D found here with 5 stars.
Cool.
And they say, this is a really good podcast if you like first edition AD&D, which I was raised on. Well, that and D&D Basic. Well worth the listen. Makes me feel nostalgic for the game I played over 20 years. If you want to know what makes first edition great and learn about the history of the game, this is your podcast. So thank you, Gulo 1970. And just to let you know, there is another podcast that covers original and basic D&D, which is Save or Die, which is also done by Vince and Company. So
Yes.
So if you want to get like the full gambit, and we also have another one that we know of, what is it? Thaco's Hammer?
Yeah, we cover all the old school D&D from basic all the way up to second edition.
Yeah, so you could get your whole fix. You could waste a lot of time. Listen to all 3 podcasts. So
You kidding? This weekend was like a couple people were like praising us this weekend because we had the multifecta. We had RFI came out, Sod came out, Thaco's Hammer came out, and an actual play podcast. So people were like, yeah, they had all these things to listen to all at once.
people's heads were exploding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If we cause your heads to explode, you're very welcome. We do our best.
Cool. All right, thanks. You can leave a review. Go to iTunes, Roll for Initiative Podcast, and leave your review. We'll be reading them as they come along, or maybe we won't read them, depending on how much time we have.
That's true.
So let's head over to some sage advice. We have a couple voicemails.
Master! They're at the gates again! Master! It looks like another band of adventurers!
Adventurers again? Always the same. Coming to me for sage advice.
Sage advice this week. We have 2 voicemails right off the bat. If you'd like to leave a voicemail for us, 570-865-4210, the RFI hotline, where nobody's standing by. It's just a voicemail. Don't worry. Our first voicemail, here we go.
Hey guys, Steve from Central New York, and I just listened to the Greyhawk Adventures episode, the second one, the quickening, if you will. Great episode. Will, the swords you were thinking of were Fred Saberhagen's 12 swords, and they're in the Book of Swords, which is an awesome, awesome idea for a campaign. The swords are forged by the gods, and the gods put them out among humanity to play with. And then the guys realized their horrible mistake when they found out that the swords could affect them as well. And it has one of the great minor demigods of science fiction literature, in my opinion, dropped it. The healing god was actually an evolved dog. Great series. Just wanted to let you guys know I love the podcast. Listen every week. Keep up the good work. If I knew how to do iTunes, I'd give you 5 stars. But I'm old and feeble. All right, take care. Bye.
He doesn't sound old and feeble.
I'm old and infirm.
So, cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I have that series. I have the whole series, the complete Book of Swords that was put out by Science Fiction Book Club many, many years ago. And yeah, if you haven't read Fred Saberhagen, do it. Do it now. After you listen to the podcast, then read.
Yeah. Well, I had it way back in the day when DM Joe, the great DM Joe, disappeared for a while from our lives. We used to say that DM Joe came ascending down from the heavens to teach us D&D and then left, gave us the knowledge and left. Well, he disappeared for a while. And there was a guy, Steve, that used to DM for us, and he gave us a campaign called the Swords of Alignments, and there was one for each alignment. We had to go quest to find them. Pretty interesting swords. They did like really big mega damage to them, too. Our last voicemail, let's pop that one in.
Hey guys, DM Kojo here. Just got done listening to issue 77. Great show as always. Couple things. First of all, Nick, I'm with you. Some clerics are going to use edge weapons, especially evil clerics. I mean, the whole thing that clerics don't want to spill blood, and that's why they use bludgeoning weapons, which never made a whole lot of sense to me because you can get pretty bloodied by a mace anyways. But evil clerics, at least evil NPC clerics, why wouldn't they use a sword or a dagger to draw blood from their sacrificial people? That makes sense to me. Also want to comment on the idea of giving magic items to starting players. I just have a campaign that I started with first-level players, and I created a custom table of, weaker, low-level magic items, potions of healing, sword +1, dagger +1, those types of things, basic armor. And I kind of looked at it as family heirlooms that, passed down from grandfather to grandson. Here's this item I used when I was an adventurer. Because they're low-powered things and increases the survivability of the first-level party, I have no problem doing that. I have every character roll on this table one magic item that I've created, so nothing crazy and random like the DMG table. And then I have one question for you guys. As far as I'm running my characters through B2, keep on the Borderlands, and when they're done with that, my guess is they'll all be around 3rd level. What's a good module to pick up after that? I was thinking maybe, going into the Salt Marsh series, but wonder about some other options because I want to give my players kind of a sandbox choice of which module they pick, which direction do they go in my campaign world. So be curious on your thoughts on that. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
All right, so Nick, somebody exercised with you.
That is probably one of the best calls we've ever had.
Oh, please.
What an intelligent man, I must say. Yeah, like I always say on the cleric thing, it's whatever trips your trigger. It's your game. You do what you feel is best. As far as the other thing is like module, he's going module B2 right now, so they should be roughly around 3rd level, maybe when they're done. 2nd, 3rd level. I would say, plug in the Salt Marsh series. I also recommend Secret of Bone Hill, which is a really good module to use. I'm trying to think of a few others around like levels 3 to 5. I think one that would be very good is Against the Cult of the Reptile God. It does say levels 1 to 3, but I think because of the threat that you're facing in that module, I would say anywhere from 2nd to 4th levels and 3rd to 5th levels would have a pretty tough time with it. And you can always, beef it up a little if you tweak the module. I think all DMs kind of tweak the modules to their liking. I know I do. Mm-hmm. So those are a few suggestions. Definitely Salt Marsh, Secret of Bone Hill, and Against the Cult of the Reptile God. So,
I was thinking B4.
Is that Lost City?
Lost City. Yeah, that one has a lot of room for a lot of just fun when you get into the deeper levels of the pyramids and everything. Because it just becomes DM whatever he makes up.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one too. Yeah, why not throw that one in there as well? I mean,
right.
And you're going big sandbox. There you go.
Yeah, and then what you could do is take all those modules, throw them into your world, and see which one the players bite on. So that way, it makes it seem like they had a say in their direction. So you give them what seems like free choice when really you're guiding them. So plop them all in and just see which direction they go and run that one.
Cool.
Yeah, that's what I kind of do too. I kind of like throw like a whole bunch of them in there, and I just like plant the seeds of the plot seeds out there, where they've been hearing rumors and such in a particular area, and wherever they go, they go.
Right. Yeah, because you never know what will catch player characters' attention. Sometimes they'll latch onto really bizarre things, or like some throwaway NPC that all of a sudden now you need to actually make into a fairly major character because they really like them.
Yeah, for some reason it always I know that's with my group. They always like going off in directions I never anticipate, which is sometimes rather frustrating. Yeah. But hey, if they're having fun, that's cool.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I just want to head over to Facebook real quick. We actually with the new Facebook update, you can get messages in a box for the group. And Nick, there's one addressed to you personally. It said it's from Derzorg or AK.
Yeah, Derzorg. Yeah, that's Dwarf. My buddy Dwarf. Hey, Dwarf.
Diesel Mathis Zerwig.
Yes.
He says, for Nick, on podcast 24, you walk into a tavern that we did way back when. Nick, how could you forget the broken dartboard in the Hack Journal #1?
Oh, my God, yes. That's right. Here's a great back in the day when the original Hackmaster was out, the Hack Journal, which was the kind of the you could almost call it the Dragon magazine of the Hackmaster Association. There's a tavern called the Broken Dartboard, and the interesting thing about this tavern is it caters specifically to dwarves, gnomes, and halflings. And if you're not a gnome, dwarf, or halfling, you walk in here, you're gonna be in trouble. So it's I'm gonna have to dig that up. Maybe I'll post something about it somewhere, and yeah, that's the gist of it. So that's a really cool adventure.
And I've been doing active Facebook questioning here on here. We had a poll up the other day. You're about to sit down and play a game. It has started at level 4, and the DM will allow any class from the 1E books. Which do you pick? It seems that we had Thief, Ranger, Cleric, Fighter, Barbarian, or Paladin. Everybody, 19 votes or leading. Actually, no, Ranger got the more votes now, it looks like. No, Thief. Thief, 19 votes.
Really?
Ranger, 18 votes. Cleric 14, Fighter 12, Barbarian 4, Paladin 4.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would be either playing a Ranger or a Cleric.
I would have figured that.
Yeah.
It's like my two favorite classes.
Yeah.
And then we asked another question just here. You're standing outside the closed dungeon door. It is whatever you are, whatever class you want to be, and your best friend, whatever class again, are standing outside that door. The door is made of solid wood and appears to have a brass ring on it that will help you pull the door open towards you. You listen at the door for a moment and hear some grunting sounds. What do you do? Please describe.
Oh, I know I do. I say, Bella.
Bella?
Don't you remember that from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
How do you say open for Bella?
What would you do, Matt?
Oh,
Never mind.
Yeah. Well, this is where we start Rainbow Sixing this stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to have one person will be like the magic user, and what we're going to do is have the other person who's the fighter. The fighter. What?
There's only 2 of you, just you and your friend.
Right. Yes. One fighter, one magic user.
Okay.
That's it. So the fighter, he'll swing the door open while the magic user goes and lets out a giant color spray, basically the fantasy equivalent of a flashbang. At that point, fighter spins around, goes in with his shield taking up a wall, making up a wall in front of the magic user. Then from there, you have to do a quick threat assessment, and you can either start unleashing the magic missiles from the rear while the fighter holds off any advancing threats. Hopefully the color spray would actually incapacitate enough that you can start rushing in and just lopping off heads.
Well, so the top answer with the top number of likes is by Patrick. And it says, like any old school adventure, you kick the door in and slay everything inside before the DM can reveal any character personality or quest info. That's the top answer so far.
I could go with that.
Yeah.
A couple other answers are, let's see here. Make the DM sweat. Quickly open the door and have the illusionist cast color spray. Oh, someone's on Matt's side. Yeah. Charm monster. Someone said grunt even harder. The monster will run away. Cast stinking cloud on the other side of the door and listen as they argue about who farted. Eventually they will run out the door and be ambushed or leave the area. Okay. And finally, Lon writes down, my barbarian friend will be chopping at the door while I wait 20 yards away, arrow knocked. If the big galoot is killed by a trap, I plunder his body and take a quick look in the room. If he breaks through and battle is joined, then I will slip closely in and will place a well-placed opportunity at the opportune moment, will help the situation, and then plunder the room and continue on. So there's some great answers going on there. You should look at some of the answers. You'll probably get a good laugh at some of them. Some I really can't read on the air either.
How about we nuke the site from orbit? It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah. Still waiting to get to that big 1,000. I wonder if we're going to do it.
We will.
We will eventually.
Slowly but surely.
All right, let's head into the meat of the show, what we're going to talk about today, and we'll be right back.
Adventure. Construction.
Yay! Remember that bumper? The Adventure Construction?
Yes.
That we started long ago?
Yes, many, many issues ago, far before I even started producing the show.
Yeah. So what we're going to talk about this week is designing an adventure from the ground up. We're going to just take our opinions on things and maybe help some people out there that are designing their own adventures where to start. Topics we'll talk about is where to start. Should it have a theme, maybe like a quest or something? How would you design it? Should it have a big bad? Maybe not a big bad, maybe just a bunch of monsters. As opposed to drawing your own map, maybe finding your own map. Where would you place the monsters? Would you put traps in? And would you bother writing a background for the whole adventure, or just, who cares, just let them go kill? So, Nick, we'll start with you. When you first sit down to design the adventure, where do you start?
Well, first thing I got to do is take into consideration what levels is it for.
Okay.
So that, I think, was probably one of the most important things that you have to look at. Let's keep it simple. Let's say probably one of the best ranges to play any sort of, I would like levels 3 to 5, that area seems to be kind of fun for everybody to play in. So that's one of the things I got to look at. And also, I guess, what you got to find something original, I guess. It's hard to, but you got to find something that's really going to, kind of surprise the players, I guess. I mean, you could get some inspiration from books and movies, but, you don't want to have anything too familiar, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends.
That's one of the things I look at.
Yeah. It really depends on your players, too. If it's a group you game with regularly, you know what types of games they like. You know what type of genres or themes that they attach themselves to more than others. So you would even consider your audience as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I usually generally start and I'll sit down and I'll do things from the backwards up, as opposed to people start from scratch by saying, okay, it's going to be level 1 to 3, this, that. I usually go and look for a map first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Derive your inspiration from there.
I find a good map, and I kind of look at the map, and I'll say, well, this looks like a good map in a mine where there's going to be this or that. So we'll get to the map thing in a second, but that's how we would start.
Yeah.
Now, what about themes? You guys do themes for your campaigns, like a quest for, or find somebody, or rescue somebody? Matt, we'll start with you this time.
It just really depends on what's sparking my idea for the adventure. Because usually what I do is I might either say, okay, I want to use this villain or these creatures, or I want the players to do something specific. So, yes, there could be a theme, but the way I run games, while I know what the main purpose is, I really don't lay out a lot of specifics. I kind of play it on the fly week to week as to exactly what's happening. It's like with the Marvel game I ran recently. I started off using an encounter from one of the modules, and I didn't and I knew I wanted to use Hatemonger, and that's it. And then I'm like, as we were playing, I'm like, I'll start throwing in Red Skull. And then probably 3 or 4 sessions in, that's when I decided Hatemonger and Red Skull were going to try to raise Cthulhu.
Oh, so it wasn't planned?
No, that was entirely on the fly. I just decided midway through the game, this would be fun. So, and a lot of times, I'll even listen to the players start theorizing what they think is going on, and if I hear something good, I'll steal that. So that way they feel smart for figuring it out, and I got a good story idea. So
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
Well, as far as like a theme, I guess it depends on where they're at in the game world. So one of the things I like to do, I like to make an adventure to where I like to get them out of their comfort zone. I don't like them get too comfortable where they're at. For example, what happened this past time when we were doing my AD&D campaign where they're in Castle Greyhawk, they got teleported to the Isle of Dread. They went from a dungeon and all of a sudden they're in a jungle environment with kind of Lost World kind of thing. So that threw them for a loop, took them out of their comfort zone, and they had to be on their toes. They had to rethink some things. So those are some of the things I like to do. I like to have, and I don't do it all the time, because if you do weird, unusual things all the time, then it's not so weird and unusual. It's not, like the saying says, if everybody's special, then no one's special, And I like to, just kind of every so often just throw a little bit curveball here and then. So one of the things I like to toy with is like environments. Like I talked about with a jungle environment, if we're talking outdoor kind of adventure. One of the things I like to do is I want to try to do something kind of like in snow, tundra, an Arctic environment would be really interesting to do. I think that's one that hasn't been done often, besides, Module G2 with the Frost Giants. Mm-hmm. But, those are some of the things I like to do. Kind of unusual environments. It's one of those things I like to toy with.
I generally, as you know from my actual play podcast, I like to add a theme to it. I always like adding themes to it, like the quest for, or
sure,
the legend of. I don't know. I like to have that one big, hook for people to get into, because then I can give extra experience for that if they complete it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like okay, they're going to have to rescue this guy, or they're going to have to find this sword or this book, and then you can have little mini quests in the middle there. So.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, that's one. I always like to do a theme too. I mean, part of it is the environment, but also a theme. What's the driving force behind the whole thing? One of the things I like to do is, I guess it kind of goes getting away from the comfort zone. I don't like doing rescuing the princess or anything like that. That seems so contrived. I like kind of dark, disturbing stuff. Maybe it's because of my love of the other game, Call of Cthulhu. Yeah. But I like to add elements of horror and real weird, disturbing stuff in my game, like some like dark cults that are worshiping demons or devils or something like that. So maybe design a dungeon where it's occupied by some cult of Demogorgon or something like that. And they're not just they're kidnapping children, and you have to find out who's kidnapping the children. So something like that. I like doing stuff like that. That I think it has some serious. It puts some serious quandaries on their morality. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I like to play around with that. Every so often. I mean,
you probably
I'm sorry. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes the guys just like to go in there and hack and kill things and take their stuff and get the experience points, and that's cool too. I like to mix it up. I like to do a little bit of everything, I guess. So
you probably enjoy Lamentations of the Flame Princess then.
I've seen it, I've heard about it, and you know what? It hasn't really tripped my trigger yet.
Well, so you describe is everything that's pretty much in there.
Oh, well, then I better check it out.
Yeah.
You might really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out then.
Yeah. My games and my group, we tend to go more towards the comedy. We're kind of hard to pull off any real serious hardcore role-playing because we'll just end up making too many wacky comments and just silly in-jokes. And so in a lot of ways, we end up doing slapstick a lot.
We do that too. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
That happens in my group too. A lot.
Yes. Yes. It's like right now We use miniatures just to represent our characters and what we see, even if we're not actually pulling out the map grids and measuring off distances for combat. But we use figures, and a lot of times we recycle the figures. So now we're like, you may remember me from such role-playing games as Marvel Superheroes Photographer or Barwinch Number 2. So at which point it just becomes impossible to pull off anything really horrific or serious with my group. But it doesn't mean we couldn't do a horror game. It's just going to be a very lighthearted one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think for the most part, our group is pretty lighthearted too. I mean, but I like to throw in like certain elements of horror and just shock. It's just every so often. But I mean, I think our groups are very similar. I think most groups are like that too. Tend to be kind of tongue in cheek, and they don't take it all too seriously for the most part. Just sit around and have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. So big bad, you guys design your big bads, or you just kind of go on the fly until it's time for a big bad, or pre-generate the big bad? I know I'll start this time. I generally will make the big bad as part of the theme of the adventure most of the time, or I'll pre-draw it up ahead of time. I'll have an idea what his temperament's going to be, what he's going to look like, what he's going to act like, how long is he going to stay alive, how much is he going to annoy the party, is he going to come back, is he going to die and then come back? I usually have all those things written out. What about you, Matt? Yeah,
I usually will pre-plan out my big bad as well. The main planning I do is for the final, the end. How will this game end? It's the in-between stuff I play more loose and by ear. I have a general idea where I think the players will go. Doesn't mean they are, though. They will end up going off on routes I never imagined, or not taking leads that I've been giving them. So I just plan out the big bad and then let everything else kind of fall where the players end up placing it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nick?
I think I almost did the same thing when it comes to the big bad nasty at the end. At the end, how he's going to be at the end, I have a pretty good idea of what he's going to do, or he, she, it, whatever it may be. I have some general guidelines. I have an idea of okay, he might get the spell if it's like a wizard or something like that, and then he'll do this. But all the middle stuff, like Matt was saying, I tend to run it kind of loosey goosey. I tend to throw the minions out there, try not to reveal who the big baddie is too soon. So in that case, yeah, I tend to run it kind of loose when it leads up to, here comes the big bad. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah, it's like you may have specific things during the middle you'd like them to do, but you don't have a specific point in time where it has to be done. So that way I'm like, I really think the players doing this or seeing this place will be cool. Whether they do it in session 3 or session 8 doesn't really matter. I'll work it in when it feels appropriate.
Yeah, and obviously if you put your big bad one place and the players find the area where he is, you just move them.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because that's one of the beauties of being a DM, because the players don't know if you're right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what do we have next here? Let's see.
Drawing up a map or picking one out.
I generally will go online and find a map because I suck at drawing. So,
okay, well, at least you're honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go. There's a cartography site for campaign cartography, the software, and if you go to their website and their forums, there is tons and tons of land maps and dungeons and houses and layouts and this and that people have done that are showing off. I mean, as long as you don't publish it, you could steal it for your adventure and use it. Right. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah. I don't think it's being lazy, though, Nick.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think it is either. But I think going to with the idea is that there's so much out there as far as material that you can use that other people have done and they're sharing it, why not use it? Chances are you're going to find a map that's going to suit your taste.
Right. It's like I'll blatantly steal from modules. Just I like this layout from this module, so I take that. Or I like this map from another module, and I'll pull from like 3 or 4 different modules to craft my adventure. And the players will never know because it's in my world. I call everything, I give it all different names. So even if they would know if I say, okay, we're playing B2, and they know the layout of all the caves. If I call it, if they don't think they're playing B2 and I call this the Cave of Happy Fun Times, they're not going to know the lave.
Oh, yeah, there's no way that anything bad's going to happen there.
Oh, no, it's just like that Tomb of Honor. Oh, yeah, nothing bad happens there.
Tomb of Honor?
Yes.
The Temple of Happiness.
Exactly.
Temple of Happiness. Temple of Sugar Plum Fairies. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
But you could take the time using Campaign Cartographer and actually design your own map, or just sit down with a piece of graph paper and a pencil and let your little heart go content. It's a lot harder that way, though.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah. But if you have a specific idea that you need your dungeon, you need this building or this area to have specific features, that's the easiest way to actually have that happen, as opposed to spending hours trotting online to find that perfect map that has the mesa next to the swamp and a volcano. So,
but I have to say there's something have to be said about taking that pad of graph paper and a pencil and drawing out yourself.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just maybe I'm waxing nostalgically, but it kind of reminds you, this is kind of where it all started, and there's some fun that could come out of it, and boy, you really use your imagination there too.
Oh yeah, it's like if I need a dungeon, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll take the random dungeon generator out of the DMG and just roll out the layout. I don't actually have to fill it with encounters or anything, but I'll just roll out the dungeon, all the corridors and the rooms, and just kind of see what I get. Especially if I'm just kind of brainstorming for ideas for a campaign. So I'll just start randomly rolling and like, okay, a room goes here, now we have this. And then as I'm doing that kind of sparks, oh, well, this room could be the tombs, this room could be this chamber, and then I can start fleshing something out that way. It's almost more of a brainstorming exercise than anything, using just like random tables to see what you get.
Yeah, I've used that a few times in the DMG, and I have to say, if you go with the die rolls, you'll come up with some pretty unusual layouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can also find a bunch of generators online for dungeon generators in case you're really, really lazy and just want a quick 30-room dungeon or something. You can click it on there and how thick you want it to be, how many rooms, how many doors, and how many odd ends, and it'll, boom, pop it up for you.
Yeah, you can do that too.
I believe actually WotC has one too if you go to their website, and I know Paizo had one for a while. I'm trying to think of anyone know of another link that might be out there?
Oh, let's see. Oh, I can't think of it right now, but I know there's more, and I'll throw a link to all of them in the show notes because there's just quite a few of them out there. And same thing with town generators that we've talked about in previous issues. So,
all right. So monster placement. Nick, when you're planning your adventure, do you plan out like, all right, there'll be monster encounters here. I want some monsters here in these rooms, or you just kind of go on the fly with those things?
I don't know if I really go with the whole dungeon ecology things. It really depends. Some people's like, well, it has to make sense. Where all the monsters have to make sense where they're at and everything. They have to have the access to food. Blah 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 blah. This is a game about fairies and dragons and elves. Come on, people. It doesn't have to make sense. You can if you want it to, but sometimes I might have a particular theme to like a dungeon. Say, for example, maybe it's like a knoll outpost. Okay, run with that. We're going to have obviously gnolls. It's probably some Flyns that are leading them. They're probably going to have hyenas and the prehistoric ones, the hyenodons, as like maybe like wargs are used for orcs. So I might go with that kind of thing. That might go. But it really depends on the whole idea of the adventure. If I'm just going with a mad wizard's dungeon, I mean anything could be in there. So I don't know. I guess it depends. If there's a theme to it, then I kind of run with that. I like pairing up monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I like how I guess a kind of like a dungeon ecology thing, kind of with real world ecology. Sometimes how animals will, one animal will live in a particular area with another one, and they kind of cohabitate and live off each other's, defenses and what have you. Sometimes I'll throw that in there too. I'll see a particular monster. I'm like, that would be cool if this was paired up with this, and then, because I think we talked about that at times in our creature feature theater. It's like, you know what? If we pair up this monster with this, it'd be pretty cool. So I can't think of any examples off the top of my head. I think one. Well, actually, there was one. Like when I came up with that swamp giant, how it likes to use crocodiles and maybe hydras as pets. There's another kind of thing. Maybe monsters kind of paired up. So yeah, those are some of the things I do.
Cool. I know I have my set random encounters, or and I have a set of monsters I know I want to use. A lot of times I won't place them anywhere until I feel that there's a need for a fight or there's a need for some action. Because sometimes the players like to just run around and explore, and they like to have fun having a social event out of it. And sometimes you can tell why the players going, "Oh, another room with a piece of gold in it." It's time to throw a monster at them. Kind of
right.
Yeah. I typically will have, these monsters I want to use, and I'll try to find ways to work them in. But if I have the players going through, say, a cave that's inhabited by kobolds, I'll try to think of, if the kobolds were to have a society in here, how would it be laid out? So, yes, you would have, the kobold nursery, because there are baby kobolds. Mm-hmm. Which when you have the players going through hacking up all the male kobolds that are fighting them because they're evil dog people, then all of a sudden they come up a bunch of little babies. That kind of messes with them a little bit. They're like,
yes.
What do we do? Do we kill the babies since they'll grow up to be evil? But they're babies, so. And it makes sense to have that there because it is.
Yeah, that's happened to me before.
Yeah.
I think it was in the against the Giants when you go into the Hill Giants, there was it might have been the Hackmaster version, which is still pretty fun. Mm-hmm. They went into the Hill Giant nursery, and I remember the guy who was playing a knight. He's like, "We're not going to kill them. They're just young." And everybody in the party is like, well, I'll tell you what, you walk over that way and just go, and we'll take care of them, okay? Yes. So I'm like, interesting.
Jeez. Sounds like a fun time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, so traps. How do you guys handle traps?
I have to admit, I'm not very good at making traps. I can't make up traps off the top of my head. I could do monster encounters. I could do some other things, but traps I have a real hard time with. I just don't have that. I just don't have a knack for them. So that's why I rely a lot on some other things. One of them is my collection of Grimtooth's traps books.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll if not directly steal the ideas out of there and plug them in, I'll modify them. I mean, there's quite a few traps in there that are easily modified. Some of them are just plain silly, but that's part of the fun.
Like the one involving the giant lobster?
That's not silly. That's just darn right mean. But also the one where, like, you know, with that ring that turns your thumb plaid or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll borrow trap ideas from other areas. I think there might be some like random trap generator kind of programs out there too that you can use for your dungeons, or it's might be part of the dungeon thing if you find them out there. Some random dungeon generators. Usually you can plug in, you know, how many traps you want, and it'll make up the traps for you. So
yeah,
that's how I do it. I generally steal the ideas.
I'm the same way. I blatantly will steal trap ideas. That, like Nick, I just don't really have that knack for like coming up with these elaborate Rube Goldberg-esque traps. I would much rather just steal from Grimtooth. If you haven't read those books, get them. They're actually re-releasing them, digitally remastered, all that on DriveThruRPG right now. Well worth picking up, and you'll just flip through it, and you'll just come up with so many ideas on how to use these in your game. I mean, it's well worth it. It's like, I have the first Grimtooth traps, and I just went through, I'm like, I want to use this, I want to use this, I want to use this. And then I'm like, I know, maybe I can just throw them all, and that's the entire adventure. Oh, wait, I just made Tomb of Horrors. Never mind.
Sounds like fun. Okay, so finally when you're doing your adventure, how about writing up a background for it, or just basically who cares? Just let them go kill. Nick, what do you do?
You know, again, I think it just depends on like the whole idea, the theme of it. I guess even with just a standard dungeon crawl, there has to be a reason why it got there and how it got there.
Yeah.
So, you know, you could make the background, I guess, as simple or as elaborate as you want it to be.
Right.
So I guess that's where I kind of stand on that.
Right. Yeah, it's like if you're doing a dungeon crawl, someone took the time to build the dungeon. It just didn't magically appear. It's not like a cave. Caves happen naturally and things go in it. But a dungeon, someone took the time to build. Who is that person? Why does that dungeon even exist? I mean, it doesn't even have to be a fully detailed back history of the dungeon for going on thousands of years, but just, oh, this wizard needed a place to hide his stuff. It could be as simple as that. And now the players are trying to get his stuff. But just a little bit of backstory can go a long way. Then the players will start filling in things on their own as they start exploring it. They'll find, like, oh, well, this is here, so this must mean, and just steal from your players during the game. They will flesh out things for you more often than not.
Yeah, I usually write up the background, or at least the way things are going to be and how the society is going to act towards the players. But when I was doing the Book of Sorrows, one of the players pointed out that, why are all the NPCs just a-holes to us? It so happened that throughout all the places they were, that the players were just not liked. And every NPC was just a big butthead to them, so... It just happens, you know? Yeah. You have fun. So writing it up, a background, is a good idea, especially if players appreciate it. Me being heavily involved with Vampire the Masquerade and things like that in the past, I got to appreciate writing up a story as opposed to just letting the players go out and wreak havoc on things. So sometimes they do appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one time I had a character for a Star Wars game I was running give me an 8-page backstory on them. At which point I read that and I'm like, you know, I saw things in their backstory. I'm like, I could actually turn an entire campaign out of the backstory of that character. And that's actually because we just decided we want to play Star Wars, but I didn't really know what to do with it because unfortunately my players knew more about the Star Wars universe than I did. Well, one of them in particular. So it's like, okay, I'm going to have continuity issues.
Yeah.
So when they gave me 8 pages of backstory, I'm like, if I just play off this, I can avoid a lot of those continuity issues I may have otherwise if I just throw them into the Star Wars universe. So I took that and just ran with it. So sometimes you could even just say, hey, make up some characters and have them develop their characters without even having a story in mind, and you build the story out of the characters as opposed to making a story then having characters fit into the story.
I think there are quite a few DMs who do that sort of thing, where they'll say, you know what, okay, create your characters, and you know what, give a few paragraphs maybe about your character. Now, however long you want. Maybe it's just a few sentences. Yeah. Maybe you got a whole page, but develop a character background and let me take a look at it. And I'm thinking about doing that next time, is after everybody does their character backgrounds, look at them and say, hey, you know what? There's some good adventure seeds here.
Definitely. Not a bit. I know if you go to our forums, osrgaming.org/forums, Full On Gamer put a bunch of custom modules from using B1, B2, and Ravenloft and made them into Star Wars adventures. Yeah. Really, he took them and he made it. He wanted to prove that you can actually take any module from D&D and use it for any game. So he did Star Wars.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, take a look at them. Really good ideas and downloads. It's right in our download library section.
Oh, I have to take a look at that.
Yeah, it's fun.
And plus, I also found having them create their characters ahead of time before you have an adventure lets you work out ways they actually know each other and are going to cooperate. Because in that Star Wars campaign, while I had them create their characters in their backstories, I didn't work out how they would all know each other. So in my first section, they started shooting at each other. Yeah, player-on-player violence in your first game is not good.
Yeah,
I don't bother with that. I just go look at the players and I go, you know what? You all know each other. I don't care how you figure it out. I don't have time to sit there and go, you're sitting in a bar. Here's your quest. Now you go find the player. Yeah. It takes too much time.
Yeah, I like now working that out in advance. We may even role play that out a little. Like for my Marvel campaign, we determined one of the characters, he owned a house, and he was renting 2 of the rooms out to the other players, and
there you go.
Yeah, and none of them knew, but we started off so they all didn't really know each other, and none of them knew each other was a superhero. So they were all trying at first to hide their superhero identity from each other. Then when a riot broke out in front of their house, so they're all like trying to sneak out the back door, hide from each other, change into costumes so they could go stop this riot. And then the owner of it goes back in first, and he's just sitting at the kitchen table drinking his coffee like nothing's happening, even though he's already been out fighting it some. Then the other one sneaks in and like immediately runs up to the bedroom while he's just sitting there like, sup? Fancy costume there. So it just really depends, but I like my players like role-playing that out. Others may prefer just going straight into the adventure, but definitely work out in advance how these characters are going to know each other and why they will cooperate. Don't let the players just role-play that out by themselves. Otherwise, they may end up brawling with each other.
Why was this always sudden thinking about the comedy show Three's Company and what if they were superheroes?
Yeah, so
and none of them knew that each one was a superhero.
So that means the Ropers were actually monsters?
Actually, Mr. Roper is the Red Skull.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right, well, I hope we've given you guys some ideas to work off of out there, and we will be revisiting this again, designing adventures from the ground up, as we have I planned a whole bunch of things for it, and yeah, you guys will follow along with me. And DM will be back next week, hopefully. So we have a complete 4-person show, 4-person perspective, which seems to be working really well now. So, So I guess I'll say keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Roll for initiative.